Hi, this is Mark Wiltshire here. This is a bonus episode of the Finnish Football Show. While there's no Finnish football actually going on, we thought we'd take a look at what's going on behind the scenes in the Finnish football scene by speaking to some of the people that are in the industry in Finland. And we're starting today with the Technical Director. I'm really pleased to be joined by Richie Dorman from SJK Seinäjoki. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, and thanks for joining today. This was something that occurred to us a couple of weeks ago that we had to find some way to keep the show going, and I appreciate you being the first one to take up the invitation and to join us. I hope that people are kind of starved of football at the moment and happy for anything that's a bit different. And there may be people listening that don't know how a Brit came to be playing here most of your professional career in Finland. So could you tell a little bit about how that journey came from you moving here and becoming a player over here?
Yeah, not the most complicated story, to be honest. I was at university in America, kind of thinking, would I ever make it as a player? Am I going into the business world? And my brother played in Scotland at that time, and he had an agent who was American. And as my university degree ended, I had the option to play in a couple of places, Scotland, Wales. Never really found the right place as a professional. And this agent from America, he said, "Oh, there's a team in Finland that will be interested to see you." And the season was winding down in England. It was about this time, maybe March. And I was like, why not? Let's go. And I went, ended up doing okay on the trial. Then I came back again as the season was started. And then that was when I joined Narpes Kraft.
How old were you then?
22, 21, okay. 22. Yeah.
It's interesting because you hear a lot of talk, especially back in the UK, about, British players don't travel. And I think they don't look much lower, or at least until recent years, but they haven't looked much lower than Premier League players. But, you know, we both know there's plenty of Brits playing overseas in leagues like Finland and Sweden and so on.
Yeah, there's a lot out there now. It'll get more and more, I'm sure, or maybe not after Brexit. But yeah, there's a lot out there that people maybe don't really know about, especially not in the top 5 leagues. Under that, there's a lot.
And Narpes Kraft is based, about an hour west from Seinäjoki. So what was and that was it is a lower level club. What was the journey then from there to SJK?
Well, somehow I ended up playing number 10 in that team, and I scored 11 goals in the second division, which I never really imagined in my career. And at that time for SJK was Toffe Klu, who is from Vasa and Swedish speaking, and the connection came then from Kraft through an ex-player and then to Toffe Klu, and then that was the link, and then I ended up coming on trial the following January with the SJK.
And the people that watched you playing for SJK will remember that season where we were still playing in the athletics stadium, Keskuskenttä, and you were pushed up front. And I think it might have been me that came up with the nickname the Welsh Messi, which stuck around for a season or so. And you played that kind of free role where you were allowed to go wherever you wanted, and it was a thrill for us to see, and it must have been fun for you. But it sounds like you had some pedigree there then, if you had 11 goals in half a season.
Yeah, but it was again a free role kind of, and I used to work hard defensively. That was my strength, and then getting in the box at the right time. But it didn't last very long, one season, and then back to defending.
Back to right back, and then on to well, this is now like a couple of seasons ago. It was announced towards the end of the 2018 season, and it was announced it was going to be your last season. And there's a decent sized British contingent among the Cloppit, the SJK supporters, that we were sad. We've kind of spoken to you quite a bit over the years, and it kind of felt like the end of an era. And there was a very emotional goodbye from us on the terrace and you down there on the pitch, and we thought it was goodbye. And it was for about 48 hours, and then on the following Monday, it was announced that you were going to be the new technical director. And I've wanted to. I mean, you obviously you knew this was coming. So, what was your preparation for taking that position?
Preparation.
Wow. Yeah, like education or whatever that led to it.
Well, I already mentioned, I touched on it a bit about being at university in America. I was in a management program there in quite strong school, and that meant I had almost gone down the accountant rule path. And then during my playing days, I was always thinking about business ideas in my spare time. And at some stage during the 7 seasons of playing, I began to write like a business plan for the club. And in 2015, when I broke my leg, ever since then, I knew that the football was stopping. It was slowing down. I wasn't progressing. I wasn't able to help as much as I could for the team as what I wanted to. And then I got injured every 2-3 months, and it just felt like it was enough. And at some point, I made the proposal to our president. This is my business plan. Kind of use it how you want. And suddenly it evolved into me being included in that side. And
interesting.
Yeah, the question was then, are you ready to finish? And of course I had helped the club a lot, and they've helped me a lot, and this was a new way to help the club get better. And I felt like I could help him more with a bigger contribution than I could as a player.
Yeah, I think it was intriguing as well to feel like there's someone that's been on the playing side, and the previous season or two had been challenging, and to see how the input from the playing side could be brought onto the management side.
Yeah, so obviously then I'd seen everything. We won every trophy during my time, and we also had the lowest times in the club in terms of in Veikkausliiga. So I saw, from a player's perspective, of course, only, but I saw all the strengths, weaknesses, mistakes, and good decisions at the same time. So it did give me the full, broad perspective, only from a player. But it was a useful background that I've had to go into this job.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you. I know I'll get politician answers if I ask you anything too probing about the running of the club. So I'm going to steer away from that. That wasn't why I invited you on today. I invited you today to ask a little bit about what's going on at the club at the moment. We got a few games in the Suomen Cup during the kind of closed season period in the indoor sports halls. And as we were building up for sort of 6 weeks of remaining training to the start of the season, obviously the whole COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic has kind of flared up, and football has been postponed initially for 2 months to the beginning of June. But I think maybe even before that or around the same time, it was decided that SJK was going to kind of closed down and all the staff were being sent home. Is that right? Do I understand it correctly?
Not really, because we have a different kind of structure inside our club than maybe other teams in Finland. What we call this SJK group. So there's a few businesses around, like DVC Clinic, the stadium. Obviously, it's its own business. Wallsport the same, but the football operation side is what we call it. The decisions were made quite quickly, and what we would say now is they were the right decisions and made very effectively. That the first team players would stay, not have holiday, and the academy players would all be sent home. And the main reason for the academy players to be sent home is we didn't feel we had enough to support them. That this situation, we don't really know how it would evolve, but we didn't have enough to support them, and they're better with their families. And the first team players, we really didn't know how long we would be off. So we needed them to stay and not have holiday, because if they fly to Brazil or Spain or something, and then they come back and 2 weeks quarantine, we needed this time to work. And that was the main reason why the decision was made fast, that nobody would travel away. And the first team players have a travel ban now.
We all have a travel ban now.
Yeah, it's a bit strong words, but they weren't allowed to go anywhere. And the main reason was because we made so big changes to the squad, to the staff from last season. Obviously, with the results in Finnish Cup, it didn't go well, what we wanted. So we needed time to work and be together. And if you can look for one positive in this situation, we have now that time to work together.
So has everyone continued training?
No, obviously there is guidelines and things we have to follow from the government. So now there is individual work and some small group stuff, but it's very limited. But the main thing is that we are here together. There's things organised for the team online, like poker tournament or things like that, to kind of build those relationships between people that we didn't have yet. That if you compare to a honker who have 3 years of the same players, give or take the same staff, we've got that time now to build these relationships stronger and stronger before the season starts.
Yeah, I felt that was one of the biggest challenges in the Stormont Cup run, is that the team was evolving from game to game, and players that had been signed were coming into the squad, so it was always going to be somehow a bit unsettled, and tried not to get too upset about it, and just thought of it as sort of progress towards the kickoff of the league season.
Yeah, of course, everybody wants to win every game, and the objective of the coaching staff is to do that. But the management and myself have to look a bit bigger picture, a few more years in advance. And one key thing I learned from the past was that we didn't pick the right people inside the club, and the main objective from the end of the season was to get the right people in with the right values that we wanted, with the right mindset, and that takes time. And if you rush it, you make mistakes, and which was what we'd done in the past as a club. And that meant going into the first game of the Finnish Cup, we weren't ready, and that put extra pressure on the head coach to win, and it evolved into a situation where we didn't win. But I can say now that we chose the right people, and it took time, but with this collective agreement that the club made, that every one of 65 people agreed to take a pay cut, we have the right people inside the organisation now, and I'm happy that we were able to make the right length of time to find those people, instead of trying to just win only a Finnish Cup game.
Was that structural decision taken at the end of last season?
Yeah, I think that was the decision made on my very first day, is that we need the right people here that will fight for the club. And then we needed time to implement that. And football, obviously, you don't have time because games come and come and come. But we had to make that decision, that we need to make as long as it takes to get the right people in. And then eventually the process and the right things are going forward, that success will come.
Yeah, and this thing about people taking a pay cut, if everyone does it and everyone feels like they're kind of really pulling together for the greater good, I guess.
Yeah, and it was also a way to show that we've done things the right way. We have one of the values is family, and if you're willing to not take 300 euros pay cut and the chef loses their job, you're not in the family at all. So this was quite good recognition that what we've done was the right things in the past 12 months.
Interesting. What about in the last few weeks for you? I mean, I guess if the first team squad is still active, even if it's on their own or in smaller groups, then there's still things going on in your role around the club as well, day to day.
Yeah, so there is the academy department, then first team, performance department, and then analysis. So there's lots of work to do now. If we look at this time, which is a bit quieter, we've been talking lots with the staff that this is actually the right time to build for the future and do those things that you can never do when the games and trainings are hitting you and you haven't got time to really think. So lots of positives you can take from this situation. First team wise, the staff are working and giving plans for physical side, for learning the tactical part. So there's lots to do, of course. Yeah.
How are the players finding this situation? I know, like in my own home now, the kids have been off school, or not off school, but homeschooling for the last week, and there's been some stresses and some tears and some frustrations. not from me, from some of the kids.
Yeah, it's
how is it for the players?
It's a bit similar, I would say. Although I'm a little bit out of touch because we talked about this. I was in England and then came back, so I have to do 14 days quarantine in my own house. So I'm a little bit out of touch, but from all the reports from the coaching staff is that it's a bit similar situation. Everyone's a bit unsure but uneasy. Why are we training? For what goal? And it's easy enough to see that or remind that this is the time we can get ahead because lots of other teams are on holiday. You can use this time to build those relationships, maintain the fitness or return from injury as some of our players needed to do. So unsure feelings, just like everybody else in Finland and the world, really.
Yeah, I saw you running around the streets of Seinäjoki last weekend, and I thought, he lives in Vasa. That's a long run to be taking his own. But you've sort of quarantined yourself in another town, have you?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to visit Norwich Football Club the weekend before this kind of thing happened, and it was too valuable opportunity to not do. And then as I landed in Norwich, the doctor said, "Okay, now the things have changed. You'll need to take 14 days home." And my girlfriend is teaching, and I felt that it was a bit irresponsible to fly back and possibly risk infecting her and then in school. So there was an apartment available still in Seinäjoki, so luckily I was able to stay there, and lots of the staff then were able to drop off food packages and things, so it was good.
Dropping food packages off to you?
Yeah, they would not drop the bag outside the door
and run away.
Yeah, basically that's how it worked. But it was an okay time. It was lots to do still of organising the players and these kind of medical processes that you need to do to look after 60 players really in the academy and first team.
Good stuff. Hey, listen, Rich, thanks so much for joining us for this. I guess we're all itching for some kind of football. And at the moment, there's nothing. There's nothing to talk about the virus. There's no movies. There's music, I guess. There's TV. There's no sport. There's nothing. And I hope that by having this series going on, it's going to help people just keep connected to what's going on in Finnish football. I can't wait for the first game under the new management team or coaching team, if you like, and to see the work that they've done in the meantime with you guiding them from above, I guess. So thanks very much for joining us. Is there anything that you'd like to say at the end, maybe to the other SJK fans that are listening?
Yeah, just thank you for all the support at this point. The club needs it financially and through looking after the community and taking care of the health and safety. So stay at home and follow the guidelines that the medical people are providing.
And we'll all see you at home for the first game of the season.
Yeah, let's hope they keep the schedule the same, so the first game is home. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thanks, Richie Dorman, Technical Director at SJK Seinäjoki.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
yep, 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 yep.